Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sun Devil Source podcast presented by Jones Auto Centers. Gabby Chernoff and Chris Cartman here with you today. Some breaking news out of ASU football. We'll get to that, of course, with the new indoor facility. And then we have a full around the horn of all the Big Four sports at ASU. We'll talk hockey nearing the end of its season. Bobby Hurley's big win, what it could look like for the rest of the season, and then ASU baseball facing a big test this week after a hot start to the season. So Chris, we'll start right off the bat with the thing that everybody in Tempe is excited about right now. Everybody in the Valley is excited about it. ASU has accelerated its groundbreaking on the new practice facility. It's going to be north of Mullet Arena and then west of what used to be Packard Stadium. And the cost has gone up to $55 million, which is about double what they thought it was initially going to cost. So, I mean, what else do you know about the facility? There's a mystery donor that they're not unveiling yet. And just kind of seems like there's a lot of cool stuff that's going to be going on in there.
Yeah, so really impressive looking building that we saw there. Kenny Dillingham, if you remember, called for someone to write a $20 million check last year in a viral type of a scrum with reporters, and a lot of people scoffed at that. And now it seems that ASU has secured an low eight-figure donation by somebody who's a prominent local business figure whose company's done some partnerships with ASU's campus, but not athletics. You're seeing some of these images. The doubling the scope of this thing from 26 million to 55 million, having 170 yards when you include the end zones, 170 yards of indoor practice field is basically not anything that's been done in the country. We had our other Son of a Source staffers take a look at all the SEC, Big Ten, ACC teams, and Texas A&M has 160 yards of indoor field. So this, the design that they put out there is now going to be attached in the next week or two to an architectural firm and construction company. But if it ends up meeting the vision that they have here to have 170 yards of field, I think that would be unprecedented in the country. And then 120 yard outdoor field, full outdoor field. Most places have at least two full outdoor fields. They're only going to have one, but again, they're going to have more indoor field. And the indoor field is going to have a tall enough roof, it seems, to be able to have your punting, which that wasn't something that they could do without worrying about the ball hitting the top of the bubble structure in the Dickey Dome, which is an inflatable thing. So this is a really significant development because it will move the facility to within a minute or so walk of their locker rooms and where all their meetings are. Right now, they have to either walk 10 minutes to get to the east side of Rural on 6th, where they have the Kachikawa practice fields and the Dickey Dome, or they have to shuttle the guys back and forth on carts, golf carts or other vehicles. There was even a car accident that people may remember from several years ago involving Jalen Conyers and others, when two vehicles that were driven by ASU players collided. So, there's some safety issues that have happened in the past by doing this all the time, or taking golf carts across Rural Road. That's an intersection where there's been a bunch of accidents. And I think that this structure, the $55 million, is going to include, I think, $7 million for a new volleyball facility, not where there's going to be games, just like a practice facility and all their offices and everything. So football component is more like a $48 million, but that's a very significant thing for a building of this size and magnitude, and should have a lot of impact on the program moving forward.
I mean, you said this was one of the only things like it in the country, so that's kind of a big deal in itself. But I mean, with how near and dear football and the football program is to ASU Park. It's not like an SEC team where you think you're going to win every year. There's, when you win, it's kind of a lot to hold on to. And, people hold on to that Peach Bowl season because it was so special. So for a program like ASU that isn't, this blue blood program that you expect to be in the conversation every year, that has so many millions of dollars being pumped into it every year. Why is this such a big deal for ASU and for its fans?
Well, look, Kenny Dillingham was in this process of trying to figure out whether or not he wanted to sign an extension, a new contract with ASU, and there was a lot of conversation about that. I think that he wanted to see more university support as one of the elements of that. This pretty much shows that you got a lot of university support. You're going to put one of the nicest looking indoor practice facilities in the country that has the most space of any indoor practice facility, potentially in square footage, with 170 yards of space. That shows that you're dedicated to football. And it took Michael Crow and Graham Rossini and ASU's administration and university support to push the booster community in a lot of ways to help with NIL and to help with getting this building funded. I think those are instruments of how serious that ASU is clearly in terms of what it wants to accomplish with Kenny Dillingham at the helm, in concert with what it did with the structuring of his contract. So it's a really big deal. The other, part of this, of course, is that you're going to show recruits and transfer portal players, hey, look at our building. And then they're going to maybe compare that to other places that they're going to go around the country. If you have an inflatable bubble structure, that doesn't hit the same way as having this just steps from where you have all of your facilities that are already great in the student athlete facility. So you put these things together, and the stadium, of course, was recently renovated a decade or so ago, and it looks very nice, and they sold out every game this past season. And if you stack these things up where they have their staff is remaining intact, they've got $2.2 million, I think, in additional staffing support beyond Dillingham to try to keep their coaches intact. You got the facilities, the biggest sort of glaring thing missing from their facility that's now there. The university support is there. This is already a great place for students to want to live and gravitate to. You have everything. The university is in the best place that it's probably ever been in terms of its perception, reputation, everything. You're bringing all of these things together. ASU is giving the most scholarship support. It's giving the maximum that it could to football in terms of revenue sharing. A lot of things are lining up for ASU right now.
Well, do you know, have they announced what they're going to do with the old practice field yet? Do they know what they're going to do with that?
I think that all of that is going to become part of the whole Novus corridor, where they'll end up having parking structures in multi-use buildings. As you know, they just opened up a massive apartment complex that's just to the south of the Dickey Dome. And I think there's going to be a lot more of office/high-rise apartment structuring, more restaurants and retail all along rural, including where Packard used to be. That's going to be just east of where this new facility is going to be.
Yeah, I looked at that apartment right next to the practice field. It was not in the college student price range, I'll tell you that much. But as far as the fans, I mean, the tailgating scene right now is, people scattered across different rooftop parking garages and even inside parking garages, and then in the street, and there's, right where they do the Devil's Walk there by the stadium, there's all kinds of vendors and clubs and events lined up there. So what is this going to do to kind of centralize the tailgating scene and make it's one thing?
I think this is going to be a game changer, especially for the upscale tailgating environment. if you look at one of the renderings, you can maybe throw them back up on the screen, the one that has the indoor. It has like parceled out. You see where there's like a bunch of areas on the far side there where there's like people sitting. I think what you're going to see ultimately is, because remember, Kenny Dillingham talked about wanting this to be an atmosphere like the 16th hole at the Waste Management Open, right? Well, how do you make that happen? You sell these loge tailgating premium boxes where you can put maybe up to a few dozen fans in each of them, and you have them every 10 yards or so, right? You could do it on either side. So now you got, maybe a couple dozen, 2-3 dozen of these at the Waste Management Open, which has the best, luxury experience, probably the stadium. There's like 30,000, 40,000 fans on one hole, and it's extremely expensive, and sort of there's a very high price point for companies to get in. And I think that ASU and the Valley are a lot different than a lot of places around the country, Gabby, because a lot of college towns, they don't have that much corporate business. They don't have a lot of high net worth companies. And the same companies that want to do the Phoenix Open, a lot of them are probably as a perk to give tickets to people that work for them or people that they're trying to impress and do deals with. This is going to be like a luxury thing to be able to have 20, 30, 40 of these luxury boxes for every single game, where you have all your bathrooms that are in this building. You have the ability to have concessions and TVs, and it's an air-conditioned space, which you're not going to be able to get anywhere else. And I think what they'll probably do, Kenny Dillingham's a visionary person. I'm sure that he's going to want Devil Walk to go through this, like probably right down the middle of this thing, while all the ASU's higher, net worth and big time fans are lining this thing, and it's an experience, right? So this has an opportunity, I think, in the biggest building, or one of the biggest buildings of its kind in the country, to really change the tailgating experience. Like, as you said, the grass areas have been kind of canceled out around campus, and a lot of people are tailgating on blacktop or on the roofs of parking garages. And this gives another option where you're invariably going to have many hundreds, probably a few thousand ASU fans that are being able to gather in this hub that's going to be the place where everybody kind of wants to be before ASU football games.
Well, I don't think anybody in the Valley is going to say no to free AC in the middle of summer when the season's starting until like November. And I know
free may be a misnomer. I'm guessing that there'll probably be a smaller area that's going to be carved out for like the more casual fans, and maybe they'll have to be, first come, first serve. They're lining up for this space, or there's a lottery to be able to access some of this space, or they have like an area where people can come in and out, and it's being managed how many people can get in, just like that exists on the 16th hole at the Phoenix Open. The people who are racing at 4 a.m. lined up to try to get to those spots. So this is going to be upscale, for the most part, but this is the type of thing where you want to, like, the goal for ASU football and the administration and the university is to make this a destination place where everybody feels like they want to be a part of it, right? And a lot of people may not even go to the games. They may just hang in this space and party and watch the thing on the big screen, and they're adjacent, and this is part of the experience. I just think that this is going to really elevate especially when you have so many businesses in the Valley that are almost invariably going to want to participate in this. And it's going to be a revenue driver. I mean, we're talking about, I wouldn't be surprised if something like this might cost more than $50,000 for each one of these nodes that they have for an entire season, maybe $100,000 potentially. I think Waste Management is up to like 200,000 for a week, and companies they'll go in partnership, some of them, so there'll be like a few companies all come together. You'll probably have some families of ASU fans that all kind of pool their resources to be able to get these. You're going to have probably dozens of seats in each one of these that people can have, and you can invite different people to different weeks to tailgate with you in this thing. I think this is going to be a special thing, the likes of which that we have never seen around ASU from a tailgating standpoint.
And do we have like a opening date or a year set?
Yeah, so they moved up. This was not going to break ground until January of next year, and now they're looking to have a groundbreaking that's more like late spring, early summer. So really, it's at least 6 months moved up, and then it's probably going to take about a year to a year and a half to get this thing built. So we're talking about potentially a year and a half from now for the start of their preparations for the 2027 season. I would say the worst case scenario would be at the end of that season, and they're in there for spring football beginning in 2028.
Of course, that's the season right after I graduate, Chris.
Don't worry, Gabby.
Jokes that your school adds the cool stuff right the year after you graduate. It actually happened to me in high school, and now here we are again. But
Sun Devil Source alumni will always be welcome back, and we'll do whatever we can to make sure you get into that building for the best experience.
Well, I hope Luke and Joaquin get to enjoy it for a year at least.
They should
be around, and I know you guys will enjoy the AC if they move all those fall camp practices inside.
Listen, my future skin cancer is going to be thanking me because people, I think they do get it, right? But when you're outside, like Kenny Dillingham likes to practice outside. They're trying to acclimate players for the season. And I've spent hundreds and hundreds of days out there in 100-degree weather, lathered up with sunscreen and wearing the wide brims and all that stuff. And
the signature Chris bucket hat.
Bucket hat, right? So this is gonna be this is gonna make things a lot better. I'm sure they'll still want to toughen up the guys and be practicing outside a fair amount so that they're acclimated for the season and have an advantage over their opponents.
Well, maybe there'll be some shade then, at least for us to stand in. But very exciting stuff. All jokes aside, it's really a huge thing for this program, and I'm excited to come back and see it. I feel that's so weird saying that. I'm like almost done.
None of us are getting younger, Gabby.
That's so weird. I still remember like on the phone with you my freshman year, and I was like trying to like sell myself and like get this job, and then here we are. It's crazy to think about.